Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to read into the energies after that weekend. It's just a super intense weekend. We had those three X flares Wednesday through Thursday, and then right on the heels of that, before we even had time to integrate, was that Virgo full moon. So a lot of purging energy is what I felt. A lot of emotion with that X flare, which is interesting because I actually didn't know. I was hosting a dance that day, and I didn't know that there was a third really big X flare. It was like right before the dance started, and so I was in there, and the intention and the the whole kind of like point of the dance was clearing energy and anchoring energy and all that. So, but I ended up getting like really emotional, and I felt like I wasn't feeling emotional at all, and so at first I was kind of like, is this mine? Is this my energy? And then it was like, because I thought, well, I'm empathic. I'm in this room full of people clearing, and you know, but then it became very clear that it was my energy. It was like this wave, like this freight train of grief that was just like connected to some of the trials in my life. And it's, I realize now that it was just literally like pushing through and out like a purge. So later when I realized that there was an X flare right during that time, well, it's interesting because my daughter said she felt the same way. Like she just had this like wave of emotion and she felt really choked up and she didn't feel like it was hers. And then when I got home, I was communicating with somebody else online and she was saying how emotional she felt. And then somebody else was saying the same thing. So that seems to really be a theme for some of us with that X flare in particular, but then with the Virgo full moon energy. And of course, Virgo is so much about purification and cleaning up and clearing out. And, so just seemed like the theme for the time. But I personally was also having a lot of trouble grounding. Like I was hanging out with the sun, I was hanging out with the moon, I was in the land, I was with the animals, I was in the garden, and everything that always really grounds me. I was cooking, from the garden, and it's like I could kind of get down here for about a half hour, and then I would just like kind of just drift off again. And like my daughter, I couldn't even find her string. It's like we were both just really kind of out of it. Now today feels a lot more. Today I'm filming this on the 26th, which is Monday where I'm at in New Mexico, but things start to feel like they're stabilizing again. But it's like just this fast pace where we barely get time to integrate, a purge or a level or an opening or an activation before another one comes. So, it's beautiful. It's a lot of assistance. We're definitely in that new frequency. We're definitely like starting to weave in our higher timelines, that new blueprint for humanity. But yeah, it's just really fast paced and intense. So I'm curious what the cards are going to say about this energy right now. So, okay, so we get, okay, seahorse, spirit, watch, and wait. That's kind of how it feels for me, where I'm like, like all weekend long where I felt really ungrounded. It was almost like this feeling of sort of like an identity crisis, where part of why I couldn't ground is like I just couldn't get a grasp of, I couldn't get a grasp of anything. I just felt like I was floating, but it was like, okay, I just kept telling myself like, well, things are going to settle and things are going to, become clear later on. But I felt like so much was leaving. There's so much coming into my life, but all weekend long, I just felt this energy of just like mushy leavingness, like this sort of like in between type of energy. And it was like, just wait it out, because things are going to kind of reform again. But just as things started to stabilize, out of caterpillar soup, then they started to squish again. So watch and wait. That seems okay. So that kind of seems to be saying we're still in that energy, which is definitely what it feels like. But all right, let's move into the tarot and see what else. Okay, that's a lot. All right, so I'm just going to take these two cards. Okay, so the Two of Air, so this is kind of the card of being like between a rock and a hard place, where it's like you can't really move. It's almost like you're not allowed to move yet. It's the time of waiting. It comes out with the High Priestess. The High Priestess in this deck, I mean, look at her. She's just like, she just has this presence that she's not moving. She's just kind of hanging there. So these three kind of having the same energy of just, it's not a stuck energy, but it can feel that way. It can feel like you're kind of stuck. You're just in this sort of holding pattern of waiting. Even the kind of shape, how both of these are looking in this direction. Yeah, and this one, it's like, you're traditionally, this card is like you can't decide what to do. You're in between this and that, and you really can't move because you're just kind of at a standstill. So waiting energy. And even she is presenting with the imagery in this card of just kind of waiting. Just be present and waiting. Okay, that is what it definitely feels like. I have a new oracle deck There's this new metaphysical shop in town here that I'm actually going to start doing tarot readings, tarot card readings in town in person. So if you're in town and you would like a reading in person instead of like through the YouTube links, I'm going to start doing that down at Mystic. But anyway, they have so many amazing tarot decks. So I told them, like, don't worry, you're going to be getting this money in your shop. But so I forget what this card is, but it has this beautiful, look at that blue, and just everything about these cards is really, really interesting. The imagery I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so let's get an oracle card from this new deck. Vulnerability, yes. Okay, so there we go. See, these cards are kind of like Rorschach-y in a way. Like, this is just, they're not all like this, but this is just sort of interesting. And that makes sense because it's sort of like, what is this card? Like, you can't even tell what it is. Like, this could be like a sponge, and what is this, and what is this? It's like that part of the vulnerability is that, like, there's no form. We don't really know. It's like this sort of, again, that in-between place of just kind of like waiting it out to see what it does. It's like there's a lot leaving, there's a lot coming, but I don't know. It's almost like, again, that groundlessness where yeah, it's just this vulnerability, this feeling of vulnerability. This makes so much sense. Where you don't really know what to do. You don't really know what's going on. You just kind of have to like wait and trust. The High Priestess also, that's our inner mystic. That's the one that knows that everything is okay. It's like you might, and the High Priestess is also about secrets. Sometimes you're not allowed to know. Sometimes you just have to wait, and you just have to hang into that space and trust that there is a higher wisdom to this. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm going to do this other. These cards are really small. This is called the Slavic Tradition Tarot, and I love this deck, even though it's really tiny. The Nine of Swords. Okay, so here's the Nightmare card. Oh, I love this. Look at this. That is such a great, I just love this deck. I haven't gotten this card yet in this deck. I just got it last Wednesday. So yeah, the Nine of Swords, that's the Nightmare card. And I had this come up Thursday night. So after that X flare, it hit on Thursday around 3:30 where I'm at, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I just felt like this, and I had that pretty much every night since then. I would wake up and I would just feel this sort of feeling of like I felt like something was wrong and I needed to like survey what was wrong. And there are some things on the ranch where I'm at on the weekends with the animals that are like kind of heartbreaking, but it's been that way for like years. I do the best that I can to make things better and to care for the animals when I'm there. But for some reason, because this energy was kind of hanging around, it was just really tearing me up. Like anything that was wrong or was out of place, just was really bothering me. And so I think that's kind of a theme in this energy too. But that's also part of that cleanup, where that which isn't in alignment is coming up to be tended to, but also to be cleared. Also the emotions or that which might have been stuffed away. It's like you can't stuff that away. Look at it. It's just there. It's like it's time to look at this, or it's time to be tormented by this. It's like on the one hand, this card can be a card of anxiety and nightmare that's not really real. It's just sort of like something like an energy that just kind of wafts through, and it could be wafting through because we are in this time of vulnerability. We are in this sort of like in between space where it's not quite time to make a move yet, where we just kind of have to hang in this energy and let it do whatever it's doing. And I really do feel with that Virgo moon, Virgo again being about purification, that there really is a lot clearing. So it's like stuff has to come up. It like comes, it's just like me at the dance, it's like it came like a wave. It just came like up and through. And of course, again, that was the intention of the dance, to clear and to allow room for the higher energies to anchor in. But it just, it came through like a wave. And so I just feel like that's kind of the theme of the energy. It's interesting. It's still coming up, so I guess we're still in it. And just allowing those things, just being present with it and knowing that there's a wisdom. And like me with the animals, there's only so much that I can do, and I am aware of the situation. So it wasn't so much as something that I needed to like see, to like take action on necessarily, because I'm constantly taking whatever action I feel to take around that. But it's almost like just some of that like sludge, that like emotion, that sort of like stuff that's just ready to be cleared coming up. I'm going to pull another card from this deck because I think they're so beautiful. Okay, so we get quite a few. We get 3 cards. Okay, Strength. Wow. Okay, Strength, Judgment, and Death. So here's the Strength card. What I love about this deck is that it's really really earthy. And so I got this deck right as I started to feel that that new blueprint, the higher frequency, was starting to really, really anchor on the earth, and that we were starting to live from that frequency. It was starting to flesh out into our lives. So here's this deck where everything about it is very earthy. And so here's the Judgment card, and look, she's like entwined in this tree. You know, she's one with this tree, she's one with the forest, she's playing her flute, and that's sort of the energy that I'm feeling with this higher timeline and this new blueprint. Is like, we're one with it. You know, it is the timeline of oneness, and it's anchored, it's down here on the earth, and it's down here with us, and we're starting to play. There she is with her flute, she's creating, she's making music. It's like we're starting to live and play from that space. It's also interesting that it's white, you know, like all around here, her is almost like this snow, and she's naked here. So I'm just noticing that in this moment. It kind of goes along with this vulnerability thing. It's like, here we are, we're in this oneness, we're in this new land, but it's very new. And again, a lot of the nightmares of the past are leaving us. They're kind of coming up to be released and to be cleared and to be moved through and to be cycled out. A lot of things being cycled out in our lives, and even with the animals this weekend, there were a lot of things that did come into alignment that got kind of cleaned up and better. There's just less animals, so there's more food for them and more care and more room, and you know, so things kind of being resolved, from that lower timeline, both externally but definitely within us, collapsing within us, that lower timeline collapsing within us, which can make us feel really vulnerable, because that means we have to interface with it. We have to interface with it as it clears. But again, you know, the Judgment being the card of like a decision is made that's in the highest good of all, and it's right and it's just and it's you know, it's appropriate. A judgment has been made. And yet, you know, it's new, and there is that sense of vulnerability. The nakedness with the snow is what's reaching out to me. But you know, it's anchored, it's grounded, it's right, it's in alignment. Okay, coming out with the Strength card. The Strength card, and here she is with the buffalo, and you know, the buffalo being a symbol of, is that a buffalo or is it a cow? I think it's a buffalo, because it has this like, or is it an ox? I'm just seeing it as a buffalo. I think it is a buffalo. Anyway, abundance, you know, abundance. And so here she is riding the buffalo. You know, like often the Strength card is like you're merging your lower and your higher self, or you're taming your beast. You know, you're taming your demons. But here she has, you know, she's riding it. And is she naked too? Yeah, she's naked too. You know, she's just there in the forest. It's like she's one. She's found that unity with her darkness, or with that you know, the lower timeline that was playing out. It's all collapsing. It's collapsing into this new path where we're unified and we're riding forward. Okay, and it comes out with the Death card. So there's the rebirth, the death and rebirth, the newness. You know, but again, indicating that like as the new is coming, we're merged here. Again, we're merged. We're on this higher timeline. We're one with this new blueprint. I'm having a little trouble finding my words, but usually when I feel that way and I re-listen, I'm like, no, you were fine, but I don't feel that way again right now. So we'll see. But here, we've merged with this. We've merged with this higher timeline. We've merged with it here. We're riding it forward. We're bringing this out into our lives. But there's still a lot of death and rebirth at the exact same time, you know. And she's riding the death. She's riding the dead horse, which is interesting. We had a horse die. Okay, it was of old age, but it definitely wasn't. It's not my ranch. It's just a place that I go on the weekends, and my son lives there, and I help take care of stuff. But there was a horse that was older, and it died. But I know it wasn't getting what it needed. So anyway, yeah, he had sent me this photo of this dead horse, and so here's this dead horse. Here's the synchronicity with that, and yet she's riding it. You know, she's riding it. She's kind of riding the nightmares. Is this a horse as well? I don't think so. It has horns. It has lots of horns. But anyway, it does kind of look like a similar face shape. But so just kind of like, yeah, merged with the nightmares, merged with the lower timeline. They're not scaring us anymore. We're digesting them. We're allowing them to compost. We're allowing them to feed us, to feed the soil, to feed the roots of our new life. The bell, you know, indicating what I'm saying. Yes, you know, yeah, just all being a part of this movement. But again, the death and the birth at the same time. So all this newness, all this forward movement on this new path. You hear it, hon? Okay. I just want to make sure you heard it because it keeps beeping. But yeah. So the falling away of the old at the same time, at the same exact time. So that's interesting. But also, the reassurance of these two cards, all three major arcanas. Um, Okay, so let me move into this. Actually, I'm going to do this deck here. I'm going to keep it. This is sort of like an elven, an elven type earth-based deck, and so is this one. This the Terror of the Hidden Realm. Sorry, the lighting's a little funny on my face here. Okay, so the Four of Swords. Okay, so yeah, there's that healing energy. A lot of purging, a lot of healing, but also, again, the symbol of the transformation and the symbol of the earth, transforming on the earth in our bodies. Just a deep healing on the physical level, but on a level that is so deep that the reason why it's on the physical level is because it's so deep that it's affecting the physical level, right? It's not just out here anymore. It's coming down into the body. It's coming down into our lives. It's coming down into the roots. So message of healing as a result of this. So that's reassuring. That's the high priestess just saying, kind of hang in there, be present with this. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. This is also the hidden card, behind the scenes. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot for the healing of our bodies, the healing of our hearts. Okay, so I'm going to do Angels of Atlantis here. How long did I talk for? 16 minutes. Serenity. Okay, so these go nicely together here. So again, just okay. So this is really good. So after a bit of upheaval, and a bit of emotional purging, if you were feeling that as well, feeling a little ungrounded, landing into just that reminder, and I'm feeling it already. I'm feeling this sense of peace and just kind of like relaxing. I'm back, for me, my hologram. I'm back home in my main home here, and which is always very nurturing and soothing for me. But that also just being a reflection of the energies as well. Everything's a reflection of the energies. Whatever's going on in our hologram is always a reflection of the shifting energies. So we can read the energies by reading our hologram, and so reading our lives. But again, coming into this peace, this serenity after a big time of vulnerability, a time of feeling kind of between a rock and a hard place where you couldn't really figure out what was going on. You just had to kind of watch and wait. And now, this beautiful movement of anchoring and grounding onto that higher timeline, moving it forward. Again, the death and the rebirth, that energy, the nightmares coming up all at the same time, but knowing that it's healing and it's bringing us into this place of peace and serenity. I'm wondering if it was really intense for other people. I haven't really talked to anybody since I've gotten back after the weekend. I talked to a bunch of people before the weekend, but yeah, for me it was super intense. So I'm curious if it was for other people as well. I imagine it was. So okay, couple more tarot here. So oh wow, okay. Okay. So actually we got 4 cards. So we get the Four of Swords again. So this is that same card of healing where, we're just, yeah, I mean, can you feel it from that card? It's like after the wounding. So it's like after the 3 of Swords, which is the heart, the kind of heartache, the feeling confused and vulnerable, you're resting and you're receiving and you're healing. And here's like this benediction, this mercy, the guides, like Thursday night I woke up and I was just like, oh my God, I just want somebody to hold me. Like, I just want to be held. And so the next morning, I said to my daughter, will you hold me? And she was like, absolutely not. I was like, okay. But here's the energy of being held, just by our higher selves, just by the energies being like, okay, good job. You went through those nightmares. You did that purging, you confronted that beast, and now look at you. You're riding it. You're at peace. You're having the serenity. And you're being held. You're being held by the energies of your own courageous nature, to move through to move through some of the darker energies that were coming up, just coming up and leaving, coming up to bring you into a steadier space. Okay, so it comes out with the 7 of Wands. So the 7 of Wands in this deck is really interesting because, he's up high on this other level, and it's like he's secure on this higher level, but there's still these things from the lower realm that are coming up that are just kind of like tormenting him, and he's safe because he's up above, but he still kind of has to deal with them, So again, that message of like yeah, like merging. You can't get away from them. They're coming to you. They're coming to you at night. You have to kind of confront this stuff. Whatever that means by confronting, just like her, just kind of like sitting with it, like what I was doing, just and watching and waiting, and just kind of like, okay, this is a purge. I know what this is. I'm just gonna let this pass. I'm just gonna trust this, and I'm gonna know that it's leading me to this healing and this peace and this holding, and just knowing we've been around the block enough times to be like, oh, okay, I know how to do this. I know how to do this. I remember, just I can sit with this vulnerability. I can sit with this feeling of like I'm going to be stuck here forever. I know I'm not, and then and then it moves, and it's like that dark night of the soul creates a rebirth the next morning, and then there, however long it lasts, you wake up the next morning and you're like, wow, I feel brand new. Okay, so it comes out with the full card being that brand new, where you're like, okay, I cleared out so much. I conquered my beast. I conquered, or I stayed present with the things that were leaving. I didn't let it scare me. I didn't let the nightmares, put me into despair, or a feeling of, really falling for this feeling of stuckness. I tended to it, but I knew I was on this higher level. Again, the judgment. We're anchored in these higher energies. It's fleshing out, the nightmares aren't returning, it's just part of the old matrix collapsing within us. It has to collapse. Again, it's been deactivated, it's just still lodged in there, and there's just a lot of, while there's that birth and the newness, it's like it just has to fall away within us. It's falling away in the outer world as well. You can see that, literally some of the deaths. Rothschild died this weekend, right? Something with that. I don't know the details of that. I just saw that kind of in passing just earlier this morning. But yeah, the old guard, symbols all around of the old guard falling within, without, having those nightmares kind of come up for us, and just knowing it's part of the process, because we really are anchored. And these new energies is just what's going on right now. So we're gonna have both. But but we're in this new land. After we go through something like that, we go through another purge with the flares, and with the full moon and the Virgo and the clearing. Now we get the reward. We know how it is. We've done this before. Dark night of the soul. You wake up and you're like, oh my God, I feel brand new. Okay, there you are, ready for the world, ready for your new adventure. It comes out with the King of Swords, which is interesting, because in this deck, in some of the decks, the King of Swords is very just kind of like, for me, he represents the distorted masculine, where he's just kind of in his head, and he's trying to control everything, and he's judgmental, and he just wants to hear the science and all this. But this one has a warmth to him, and in this card, even though it's a sword, there's a lot of red. There's a lot of kind of like fiery, earthy energy. And again, this is Oh, I thought this was my earthy card, but it's in my earthy deck, the Slavic tradition deck, but it's actually not. It's a different deck, but it still has that earthy quality, which is interesting, because again, it's matching the energy of like, it's here now. Those higher frequencies are here now. They're fleshing out on the earth. They're fleshing out in our bodies. They're fleshing out on the world scene. Like, it's starting to trickle out. So even with the King of Swords, presenting as a really earthy, earthy kind of heart-based, with all this red type of character, that's just like, I'm protecting you. He's like the divine masculine energy that's just, he's the protector. He's the one that comes to hug, He comes to hug. He's like, I got you. I have my swords. I'm big. I'm not letting anything pass. And this is what we're doing within ourselves, our own inner divine masculine energy, whether we're a man or a woman, we're holding space for our high priestess. We're holding space for that vulnerability, that vulnerable part that needs to go through that needs to be brave, and needs to hang in that energy, and just kind of like wait it out, and allow it to have its alchemy, allow it to have its wisdom, the wisdom that it has, and honor it, and hold space for ourselves, holding space for ourselves during that passage. So really beautiful. And also, this card, where is it? Yeah, this one being kind of a warrior energy as well. That part of us rising up that's like, I can handle this. I can watch each and every one of you, every single one of the ghosts of Christmas past come through and kind of like taunt me on the way out, and just knowing that, like, they're just parading past that life review. They're parading past, and we can You know, we can tend to each one. We can look at each one, and we're perfectly held and we're perfectly safe. That message was really coming up last time, where it was like, you know, ascension and light body activation and anchoring these higher energies onto the earth is completely natural. It's completely supported, and we're completely supported by all the solar activity and all the cosmic energy, the cosmic galactic energy that's coming through, and all the different ways that it is. It's completely supported. This is the cycle of the ages. This is the time when it's happening, and that we're just absolutely perfectly safe. So a lot of protector energy around in that way too, where this is written, it's divinely timed, it's divinely guided, and that we have access to that archetype of that energy within us as well. You know, it's like fractals. We have it within us. We have it through the solar activity, which is supporting us and helping us. It's benevolent. It's taking us exactly, you know, it's harsh, you know, and the King of Swords, like I said, can be really harsh too, you know, but this one not in distortion. That's just kind of like, no, we're going to go the whole way through. We're going to do another round. We're going to clear off what needs to be cleared off. I'm going to get my swords out, you know. Here comes another X flare. We're going to chunk off some more, you know. Sorry, I just got a notification. So we're gonna chunk off some more so that we can bring you into this healing. We can bring you into this serenity, you know. So again, and then on the higher level, the cosmic energies that come in to upgrade us as we clear, you know, as we clear out and we make more room. These energies come in and they take us to that next level. They take us into our rebirth. They take us into that our rebirth. But again, you know, a lot about vulnerability right now, but a lot also about that protector and being held, you know, when you feel, because even when I was like, I was kind of laughing, where I was like, I just want to be, when I asked my daughter, will you hold me? You know, will you just hold me? You know, I kind of leaned on her shoulder, just being a goofball. But, you know, again, it's like, we are held, and we hold ourselves because we know how to do this. We know how to do this passage. But again, being kind of vulnerable right now, or at least this weekend, you know, it's like, I do feel like we're moving into this kind of energy where it's like, okay, that was worth it, you know, that was worth it. And moving into this full energy now, right, where we're walking, you know, and her, you know, she's cold, she's naked, but she's got it. She's playing her song, you know, she's playing her song. She knows what this is about. She knows this is forward movement. She knows that this kind of stuff is just part and parcel, you know, the death and the rebirth at the exact same time. You know, it's like, the light path and the dark path, you know. And so I posted something about that on Facebook, and somebody said it's a fine line between them. It's like two sides of the same coin, you know. And that's this card. It's like the death and the rebirth, you know. They're both there together. Those energies are both there together. And sometimes the full energy is louder and stronger, and you feel like you can take on the world, and, you know, all the new projects are starting, you know, and all these things. And sometimes, you know, this energy is louder, but knowing that, you know, in the world of duality, where we are in this unification process, which is happening, which is anchoring, which is very much here, we understand it. But this card is really beautiful because there's both. There's that vulnerability, but there's also that growth. And she's just so masterful at being able to ride them both out, to create through it, to play her song through it, to, you know, to, even though she might be cold, you know, she understands, you know, like with her, she understands that high priestess, that inner knowing, you know. And so both of them, but knowing that sometimes, sometimes you feel extremes, you know, you're very much in this and you kind of forget about this one, and when you're in this one you can kind of forget about this one, but holding them both at the same time, remembering when you're in this energy's here too, and when you're in this energy is kind of here too, you know, as well. That it's just, and these two cards really representing both at the same time, you know, riding your beast, being one with it, walking both paths at the same time. That's mastery. And when we surrender to that being the mission and that being the task, there is a healing, there's a holding, and there's a peace in that, because we're not fighting. We're not trying to push away this. We're not seeing this as a problem. We're not seeing it as an aberration to our new pathway, our new alignment, our new blueprint to the new earth trek. We know that it's part of it, you know. And we're masterful with it. Okay, so that's kind of like this too. It's like both, you know, you're between a rock and a hard. You can't get out of this one. You can't get no, because they're both meant to be there. You know, they're both meant to be there. It's a dance. You dance with both, and we're getting better at dancing with both of them at the same time. This card really being the epitome of that dance, that vulnerability, but the growth and the creation at the same time. So, okay, I'm going to pull a goddess card here. At almost 30 minutes. I might keep this shorter today. I might start wrapping up, but I do have a couple more cards. I want to pull from my Goddess of the Moon Oracle because we are still in a very moony energy. Healing. Yeah, there it is again. Okay, so we got healing, the healing card 3 times. These cards can be summarized as healing. Where's the other one? Where'd she go? Where did she go? Oh, that's funny. Why can't I find her? Okay, well, anyway, we got the 4. Oh, here she is. She was hiding behind Serenity. She was hiding behind Serenity. So, you know, these 2 cards, healing and Serenity as well. So 4 healing cards. So a lot of healing energy happening right now, regardless of what your weekend was like, regardless of how you're feeling right now. Very much an indicator of the healing that's been going on. So that's really beautiful. Oh, yeah, the Goddess of the Moon. Let me pull her. Okay. All right. So we get, protection. Oh, that's so beautiful because that goes, okay, so a double message of healing and a double message of protection. So, or a triple message of healing, triple message of protection. So here it is again. This card is really interesting. It's really interesting because here's the message of vulnerability again, because look at her. She's naked. She's in a bird's nest. She's up in the air being held by a bird, you know. Sorry, I forgot to turn off my notifications. You know, so it's like how much more vulnerable is that? And yet it's this card of protection. So, I mean, the name of the card is protection. So it's like I wouldn't feel very safe in this nest. I mean, yeah, it's a nest and you feel kind of held in the nest, but you're naked. You're clearly too big for it. You know, this bird isn't strong enough to hold you. It's flying. You could like, you know, get chased by a hawk and like you could tip out at any moment, you know, so you don't feel very safe. So there's that paradox again where it's like both, you know, it's both. Again, the both, you know, it's like you're protected. There's the word protection, but you're also very vulnerable. You're naked, you're in the snow, you're up in the air, you're being held by this tiny little bird. That it's not like you're riding your buffalo in this moment. You know, you're not. She's naked as well. You're not really, but she's safe. You know, she's safe. She's figured it out. You know, she goes with the high priestess. You know, she goes with the high priestess where it's like, you know, I know what I'm doing here. So a lot of messages of, you know, like wisdom and knowing and being able to hold space for ourselves, you know, have that protective energy, you know, within ourselves because of our inner knowing, you know, and so even though we're feeling very vulnerable, we can still know that we're protected. So that's really beautiful. I do feel it's closing because it's repeating messages, but I am going to pull just one last card because I like to always end on one last card. And so there's only one deck that I didn't use, so I'm going to do the Secret Language of Light. Meditation. Okay. Yeah, so that's interesting, you know, and it's an 8 card. So meditation, and that's just that stillness again with her where it's like, you know, we know what's going on, you know, like me, like being unable to ground myself, but doing all these things that I could, being in the garden, you know, being with animals, anything can be a meditation, you know, anything that kind of anchors you or brings you into that stillness, into this sort of unification with the quiet part of yourself that knows that you're okay. Like I sat out in the sun Friday night, and it was so beautiful, and the sky was so beautiful, and I had my chaga tea, and like everything was just perfect. Like I just came into that stillness where I knew that everything was right. And then, you know, of course I got ungrounded again, like I said, but then it's like, okay, so now we're gonna go hang out with the duckies, and now we're gonna hang out with the piggies, and now we're gonna go harvest in the garden, you know, and just like you know, and then morning meditation as well, but just coming back to that still place where we know, because again, these energies, especially with these flares, they just keep coming. Oh my God, 3 X flares right in a row, and that last one was an X 6.7, which is really high. I think it's the highest one we've had in this solar cycle. And so, you know, and the 3, I don't think we've had 3 yet in a row in this solar cycle either. So, you know, just a lot of intensity, but knowing that we do have this inner well that we can tap into, and knowing that within that we can feel that level of protection within ourselves. And yeah, and then again, just reiterating strong messages of healing and coming home to that serenity, and all of it being for the sake of walking, you know, walking through life with a clear, pure heart, able to be that channel of those higher frequencies that are asking us to clear and asking to anchor and activate us so that we can be vessels for the higher energy, weaving light, weaving that heaven on earth timeline onto this planet for all. So anyway, I'm going to end there. Thank you for listening if you made it this far, and I'll see you next time if I do. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.